So you've managed to watch all 5 episodes of season 6 of Black Mirror, and now it's time to rank them. What do you do? So how goes it, folks? Jolly Yellow talking to you. So as I said, made it through the 5 episodes of season 6 of Black Mirror. So now I'm going to take a few minutes to sit down and rank them, go over some thoughts and opinions and memories and things. And also this time, expect spoilers because I'm going to be talking about these openly and freely. I've already watched all the episodes. No need to keep it to the vest anymore. So if you're worried about spoilers for anything in season 6 of Black Mirror, this is your warning to stop now. Okay, so coming in at number 5, I'm going to say episode 2, Loke Henry. I'm putting this one at the bottom of the list because honestly, rethinking it and actually rewatching the episode, I'm kind of curious as to why this is even a Black Mirror episode at this point. This could have been an episode of someone's true crime podcast. In fact, the episode itself even kind of feels like, it's literally a documentary team working on an old murder case from the distant past. So I'm not even sure why this was even written up for Black Mirror. It feels like it should have been a part of some other series, or maybe even something on Shudder or Oxygen or some other channel like that, because this is totally true crime. There's no supernatural element. Technology really doesn't play a huge part in anything. It just feels out of place. Not a bad episode, but it just feels out of place for Black Mirror. Coming in at number 4, I'm actually going to put episode 4, Maisie Day. This episode very much has horror movie vibes, especially considering that the creature at the end turned out to be a lycanthrope or a werewolf to be specific. But I did still enjoy kind of the lesson that is going on there, where, with Black Mirror, it's typically, portrayed as being science fiction and horror. And there's absolutely horror in this episode. But with that horror, it teaches, or at least kind of gives a reminder or a warning or a lesson. We saw Bo, played by Zazie Beetz. Throughout the episode, it's shown that she recognizes the disgustingness and the depravity of her very job. Even though she's a struggling photographer, she knows that among the paparazzi, they have a bad reputation for a reason, and some of the photographers are just downright disgusting. If you remember, there were 2 other photographers that were working with her and the other gentleman, and we knew straight up they were terrible. One of them was shown to be putting on literal knee pads so that he could get upskirt photos of a woman, and the other guy, he was literally like yelling out slurs and insults just to get her attention. And when she had the nerve to put her hands on him, he started crying about assault. So we know that the whole paparazzi thing is very disgusting. And there's even specific pauses in those moments, and then the camera focuses on Bo to where she is seeing, this is disgusting, this is terrible, this is depraved. But despite all that, at the very end of the episode, she was standing over the actress who had been turned. She was, dying, she'd been shot, she turned back to her normal human form, but she was begging for death. And Bo hands her the gun so she could do it herself. And then she also takes a picture of it in order to, score the elusive photos of the missing celebrity. So even though she recognized the horrible, disgusting behavior of her job, she still partook in it anyway because the money was just too good. Number 3, I'm going to put episode 5, Demon 79. I like the story of Nita and how she was just a mild-mannered woman trying to survive in a world that hated her. And not just on the overall political level with the straight up white supremacy and fascism and racism that was going on, but even in like her close-knit, her work life, where her co-worker and her boss were almost discriminatory towards her. I would say definitely dismissive or maybe even hateful towards her. And then she's given this task to take 3 lives in 3 days in order to save humanity from something horrific. And she takes on the task, but she tries to maintain her humanity, in which she decides, hey, I'm only going to do this to people that actually deserve to have their lives taken in order to meet those requirements and do everything that needs to be done. And what's funny is when she decided what her third target was going to be, or who her third target was going to be, the demon with her even tried to advise against her going after him, because he does such good work that they like him downstairs. And it just kind of goes into this kind of a mess of her trying to take out that third person. But then in the end, I'll go ahead and spoil it, she ultimately fails, and she fails to take the 3 lives in 3 days, and we see the horrific explosive end. And I like how they blended it in with the fears of the Cold War at the time. Because, taking place in 1979, they're in the UK, Cold War fears are real, and the world ends up ending in nuclear fire. So it wasn't a literal biblical destruction of the world. It was humanity turned on itself, nuclear winter everywhere. But I still liked how she didn't just suddenly fall from grace out of nowhere based on one decision. She still tried to maintain her humanity despite doing such horrible things to people. And yes, they were horrible, disgusting people, but she still tried to maintain her sense of morality and self as far as, well, I'm only going to do this to people that have done terrible things and actually need to have their lives taken. And at the very end, it almost felt like, you know what? This world is a piece of trash. Go ahead and let it be destroyed. And then she just decides to go off with the demon to whatever. I wouldn't mind seeing a follow-up episode to Demon 79 to see what happened to those two afterwards. So at number 2, I'm going to go with the episode 3, Beyond the Sea. Aaron Paul, Josh Hartnett together, and also Kate Mara is in this episode. And just the setup of the two of them being astronauts out in space on a long-term mission, but having the technology to beam their consciousness back to a replica body that is sitting on Earth. That way they can still interact with their loved ones and everything like that. And ultimately, I'm sure that the ability to beam their consciousness down to those replicas was meant to be a way for them to mentally survive in space or psychologically survive in space, so where they're not isolated from their loved ones for so long. So I'm sure the purpose there was to prevent trauma, to prevent the loneliness and the rigors, the mental rigors of space, being out there with just one other person. But then in the end, when the anti-technology people get a hold of Josh Hartnett's replica and his family and take all their lives, we see that the ability to beam consciousness down to Earth ends up creating some of the very trauma that it was probably trying to reduce, to the point where you could even ask, was this really worth it? Would they have been better off just doing kind of what we know and understand when it comes to sending astronauts on missions, where they just have to deal with the consequences of being away from their loved ones and being away from Earth for so long? And it just creates that, was this really a good idea? Was this something that we should have done? Because as a direct result of this, multiple lives were taken. And on top of that, you had Josh Hartnett and Aaron Paul now up in space on that mission, with Aaron Paul knowing Josh Hartnett used Aaron Paul's own replica body to take the lives of his family. So now he's up there with the guy that murdered his family. What do you do with that? And the mission has to continue, and it takes 2 people to operate the craft or the station they were on. So if they got into a fight and one took out the other one, it would ruin the mission. So it even kind of circles back to, despite all that trauma and all that nonsense they went through, they still had to continue and take care of the mission. Pretty messed up. That just leaves episode 1, Joan as Awful, in the number 1 spot. I love this so much because this episode, 1, it's hilarious, and 2, it's something that might have an actual chance of being something that could actually happen one day, in which, Joan was in that situation where she discovered that her own life was a simulation or a reality show based on another person, and then even that person was a reality show based on the original person. I know that's quite a bit, and I wouldn't be surprised if you had to go back and watch the episode multiple times to catch that. But I can see this very well happening, especially with the way these streaming services act these days. Almost every service now wants almost absolute access to everything that you have going on, everything in your life. You're, being able to look in on things that they really shouldn't be having access to. I could totally see Netflix one day getting to the point where you have to sign away literal access to your life and give them the rights to use AI to generate a TV show based on your life, and then use the AI likenesses of famous actors. In this case, it was Penelope Cruz. And then Okay, that's my bad. That's Selma Hayek, not Penelope Cruz. But in my defense, I am trying to edit at 1 in the morning after taking my nighttime meds. And use that actor's likeness to create a reality show, and then just nest in on top of each other, a show of a show of a show of a show. I'm not sure how far that could possibly go, but I mean, that's something that could probably happen here in the next 30, 50 years, depending on how the technology goes. And for another idea or a look as to what that could happen, I would recommend the movie The Congress. So you want to go check that out. That is actually about an actress who is on the low end of her career. She signs away her likeness to be used by a company however it wants to in perpetuity, and then things go downhill from there. So that's another glimpse in that future of production companies or streaming services wanting to use someone's likeness in a way that they really don't want to be used. So yeah, that's pretty much it on season 6 of Black Mirror. Watched it all, ranked it all. Now it's time to get myself ready to go and continue season 7. And I did say continue. If you go and look at the playlist that I have up on Black Mirror, you'll notice that season 7 episode 1 is already there because I mistakenly watched it and didn't realize it was season 7 episode 1 instead of season 6 episode 1. Season 7 episode 1 is already up. When we come back around with Black Mirror next time, it will be season 7 episode 2. I'm hoping you all had a good time. You get in the comments, let me know what you think of Black Mirror so far. What do you think about these episodes? Is there a past episode in a past season you want to pick my brain about? By all means do so. You folks have a good one. Jolly Yellow out, and as always, keep exploring.